Welcome to My Two Cents, a community where we ask Aussie marketers three simple questions each month on a topic of their choice. This episode, we're diving into SEO and specifically has Google killed it? For this topic, I'm bringing in a couple of experts. I'm your host, Chris Jowsey, fractional CMO with Nugget Digital. My co-host is Denise Rainey, fellow fractional CMO with Rainy Day Digital. And we're joined by a very special guest, Chris Hamlin. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So Chris has been a SEO consultant for 20 plus years, so perfect person to add to today's conversation. Chris works across both direct and agency partners. I think you've worked for most companies and most verticals, Chris.
Yeah.
Everyone from eBay, Harvey Norman, Suncorp, Tourism Australia. There wouldn't be many brands you haven't touched across your 20-year span. You're also the founder of bymarketers.co, a website resource and templates for marketers. So if you're after pre-built templates for GA4 and Looker Studio, that's the place to go. And I guess closer to home, look, we've partnered with you, Chris, for many years now. You're kind of our go-to SEO consultant for clients. I guess, when I think about the work we do together, you've kind of equal parts. You can jump between the technical SEO side and content strategy, as well as kind of the commercial nuances around SEO as well. I think being able to straddle those is quite unique, because I think a lot of SEO people can either be more focused around the technical side or on the content side. So that's kind of one of the unique things I think I find, Chris, working with you and clients over the years. So I'm interested, just going back into your background a little bit. I guess when you finished uni, started your earlier career, how did you end up doing SEO?
I actually, I didn't even finish uni, funnily enough. I dropped out, and I was always into the internet and kind of websites and building stuff. And I was building small websites for like family, friends, businesses and things like that. And my housemate actually started selling SEO back in the day. And that's how I learned about it. And I got into it from there, and I got a job. Like I was doing SEO as I was building small websites, and I got a job at an agency early on, which really accelerated everything, all my learning around SEO. And that's where I started doing some more client facing stuff and build a bit of confidence. And then I went to consulting, I think around 2010. So it's been a long time now. And from then on, I've just been working across different agencies and direct. But you're right. I think that building websites really helped give me a solid technical foundation, and I've been able to, and I find that really helpful because I can talk to like developers and all different stakeholders and communicate sufficiently what needs to be done from an SEO perspective.
Yeah, great. I think particularly as we're now getting into this kind of AI era, a lot of it is being able to communicate what changes are happening, what's noise, and what are the things that people need to pay attention to. We just had a quick chat off air before we started recording, and you must hear it 10, 20 times a day. Around, what's happening with AI, what should we be doing?
Yeah.
I guess if you describe the last 12 months, compared to the last 20 years, what would be the biggest change? Am I starting the obvious around AI?
Well, obviously, but I think the difference is like SEO is always evolving, and we have to constantly keep up with algorithm changes, and that's been happening throughout the whole time I've been in SEO. But what's happened in the last 12 months is like a fundamental shift. And it's very different. It's making us have to look at not just ranking keywords, not just position one, not just traffic, but also now brand sentiment, visibility, and how we can optimize a brand as a whole, as opposed to just on-page content and keywords. So I think it's significant. It's something that I haven't really seen or experienced, and it's definitely the biggest shift happening, and we don't really know where it's going. So it's exciting, maybe scary. It's interesting times.
With so much noise around AI and SEO, what would you say is some of the most common misconceptions you're hearing with business, particularly smaller businesses?
Two things come to mind. One is that AI can do my SEO for me. So I have come across instances where clients have shared an AI report or something like that. So they've gotten ChatGPT to do an SEO strategy for their site, or to write a whole heap of content or do a content plan. And it's really helpful as a framework, and it does pull very interesting insights. But ultimately, AI from that perspective is still, it still hallucinates a bit. So it doesn't always tell the truth. It doesn't always prioritize things correctly. It hasn't got that, it hasn't got that kind of human initiative, I guess, or that's probably not the right word, but it hasn't got, that intuition is what I was trying to think of, that you need to really know what's wrong, where an experienced like SEO consultant can really help you. So I think that area I do see quite a bit at the moment. I'm thinking, and that goes to the whole question, is SEO dead? The other side of it is that GEO or AI or AI or whatever you want to call it is a whole completely new ballgame. And it's a new thing we have to look at. Everything is different, where really fundamentally it's just SEO and it's a change in strategy. So it's looking at, instead of focusing on maybe keywords, it's more focusing on what customers want from from a business, or how can you match their intent and how can you answer the questions that they're really asking. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is that it's still SEO, and a lot of people think it's completely different and they need to change tact completely.
Right. We titled this episode "Goodbye Page One: Has Google Killed SEO?" I think you've kind of addressed that in the words that you just shared. I guess in your long career, you've heard the death knell sounded for SEO. Like, SEO has apparently died so many times. What's your first reaction when you hear that? Has Google killed SEO?
Yeah, you hear it all the time. Really, I think there's always going to be a need for someone to, a need to optimize your site for crawling, for indexation. So one way or another, there is the need for search engine optimization or AI optimization. Without, I think that really answers it. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, the point that I kind of want to get across there is that as much as it's changing and it might not be called SEO, there's still going to be a need for someone to make sure that AI or whatever it is accessing your site correctly, and you've got the right content on there, and you're optimizing your keywords, and your user experience and all of that kind of stuff to make whatever it is, whether it's search or whether it's AI or whether it's voice or anything in the future, to make sure that it's finding your site and reading it.
It's, if you think about the last 20 years, there's been definitive points where the way that people search for information and then obviously use that information to take actions. And if you think of, like, even just, when mobile came in and the significant shift that made, because people started using mobile as their primary kind of tool for whether it's search or buying, etc. We went through a period of obviously having to make changes to that, whether it was both your content strategy or the technical aspects of it. So it kind of feels like the principles of SEO and marketing in general, they still hold true. It's a matter of then kind of evolving the practices to how, I guess, people and users' behavior is changing.
Yeah, totally.
All right. In this month's survey, we've asked a couple of questions. Now, the first question was specific to how Google's AI-driven search is affecting your website traffic so far. And I'd see this as kind of the last kind of 6 to 12 months. I guess the takeaway here is that most marketers are seeing some kind of decline in organic traffic, mostly moderate. So I think at this stage, would you see this as kind of an early warning sign or more of a kind of a permanent shift?
I think it's a permanent shift for sure. I'm seeing it across all clients that I work with as well, but it will soon become the new norm. And we have to accept that. Unfortunately, there is a readjustment period kind of happening now. And like a larger number of users are searching online and they're getting what they need before engaging directly with a brand. Obviously, it's impacting some industries and some types of sites more than others, but there's no doubt it's happening, and I don't think there's any going back from it. It's not like your traffic is going to be rebounding, so we need to look at how to adapt.
Yeah, and I guess a couple of data points I'm seeing is, even though traffic may be declining, there are increases in conversion.
Yep.
Other data points to suggest that if you're positioning yourself well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it can be,
Totally.
but
Yeah. No, I think so as well. I think really depending on the type of site, as I said, if you're an e-com store or a lead gen, you'll find that the traffic coming through to your site is probably more qualified and has higher intent to purchase. So that's the upside of it. But if you were getting a lot of traffic off more informational based terms, or you're a publisher or an affiliate, that's where things become a bit more difficult, and it's hard to work out how you can maintain or gain back some of the traffic that has been lost over the past year or so.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, and I think I guess that kind of rolls into the second question around what changes are people making. And again, since the rise of kind of AI tools, we kind of asked, left this as kind of an open question.
Hmm.
We've kind of categorized this into kind of 4 areas around content authority, trust, credibility, diversifying channels, and measurements and budget. Yeah, I guess just looking at some of the comments here and across the categories, anything that jumps out at you right now?
I mean, the FAQs, building trust, credibility, I completely agree that this is how content strategies need to shift and adapt. I'd add into that brand sentiment. So looking in communities online, making sure there's a positive sentiment against your brand. I think that's that is a key metric that people are talking about when it comes to tracking AI visibility. And so spot on with all of those. And I think all of these make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, right. Okay. And I guess if you were more of a small business solo marketer, which of these do you think, if there was kind of 2 or 3 in particular, you would want someone to focus on first?
Yeah.
Which ways would you lean?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of key areas around to focus on. Definitely make sure your basics are right. So going back to AI isn't a whole new beast. It's part of SEO. You need to make sure that your SEO basics are there and they're right. When it comes to content, make sure that you speak to your customers and not to search engines. So there is a bit of a shift in content creation or content that works well that doesn't have to be as long as in depth. It needs to be accurate, concise, easy for AI and also Google and from an SEO perspective to be able to quote and pull parts of it out. So I think from a content perspective, yeah, making sure that you're really speaking to your customers, meeting their needs before worrying about SEO. And as I mentioned, building your presence offsite as well is really important. So looking at citations, link building has had a really big resurgence. If you look in Google Trends, for example, for link building agencies, you'll see this massive spike in search interest around it. So
That's
links are
interesting.
coming, back into the spotlight there. But it's not so much just about the backlink now. It's more about you being mentioned. So if there's a top 5 list of, the best type of product or something like that, then making sure that you're in that list or reaching out and trying to get into that list is a big focus area at the moment. Because if you think about it from an AI perspective, the way that it comes up with its responses is what it finds online. So the more presence you have elsewhere online, the more likely you're the one that's going to be mentioned.
Yeah, it's interesting. That point there, just there, I guess, and I guess in the older days, you would, you'd take kind of technology as an example. There was always a big focus on making sure that, you could try and negotiate with, with those kind of third-party publisher sites that were always in the top page, the top page on Google to try
Yeah.
and get a listing or a ranking. I guess what I'm hearing now is you almost need a breadth as well as kind of those key authority sites. Is that what you're kind of seeing as well?
Yeah, you mean as in having more presence across a wider variety of sites and a
Yeah,
wider
that's
range?
right. It might be,
Yeah,
in the old days, you might have just focused on those top authoritative sites, but now it's like, well, there's other forums, there's
yeah,
Reddit, there's LinkedIn, there's social. There's a breadth of different sites. They don't necessarily always have to be the top ranked sites.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah,
um, so is that? Yeah, I'm just interested to know.
yeah,
Is that something you're seeing as well?
definitely. So yeah, there are the high authority sites which get cited a lot more often in AI specifically. Then there's the community sites where AI uses that for validation. So Reddit being one of the most cited and mentioned sites in ChatGPT, for example. So having a presence on communities like Reddit is really important, and other forums. And then there are other less authoritative sites, but maybe more niche or relevant sites to your industry that I'm seeing also being mentioned if they have a blog post or an article talking about some of the key providers or key products and things like that, and you're being mentioned in that. So breadth is really important. And I think that's a really good point. There's no point getting too bogged down trying to, or paying too much to try and get your presence on one particular site that has high authority. Maybe you're better off spending it, like spreading that budget out and spending some time in communities, on smaller websites, so on as well. But the key thing here is that it's coming back into one of the high priority activities that you need to be taking to get that visibility and grow your presence, where it has taken a bit of a backseat over the past 5 to 10 years. If you are an e-com site, from a technical point of view, your structured data, your product feed are all highly important things that you should be focusing on as well.
Yeah, good point.
Chris, going back to AI generated content, what are your top tips about how people should utilize AI for generating content? I mean, it's a given, people are going to do it. What are your thoughts on how people can be more judicious and apply this technology more intelligently?
Well, yeah, firstly, I'd say that if you're not using it, you probably should be to make things more efficient, but you shouldn't be using it for the end piece of content. The best approach for AI is to help with structure, making sure that you're accommodating or matching user intent and you're covering everything that should be covered in that article, and for a bit of creativity. But then it's really important to add a human touch on it. And it's even more important when it comes to online content to add some uniqueness to it. So AI is just kind of regurgitating what it's already found. And generally speaking, the content that it regurgitates or that it comes up with, it won't particularly be unique in terms of what it's covering or the angle. You can prompt and you can get really close to it. So playing around with the prompts and the output is worth the time and definitely recommended. But at the end of the day, there needs to be that additional layer put on top of it. Otherwise, from my firsthand experience, like playing around with some small websites that I have, it won't work. There needs to be that human touch to it. And I think when it comes to content like that, well, content across the web, whether it's articles or blog posts or research or anything, then there needs to be some verifiable data points in there or an author or something like that as well to really add a bit more authority and trust to that piece of content.
There are also lots of myths around how Google is ranking AI content. What are some of the most common ones that you think people, the wrong paths people are heading down based on these myths?
I think just publishing a lot of content because it's so easy to generate with AI. You're right. There is a lot of talk about how AI content works and it does rank. But from what I've read as well, it works for a while and then it starts to teeter off and your traffic begins to drop again or visibility begins to drop. So it might be good for a short term, I guess, burst, but obviously it's not good when we're talking about SEO, which is a long term game.
So I guess, Chris, if you had a crystal ball and you were thinking about the next couple of years, where do you think it's heading?
We don't know. I don't think, I think that's the right answer. I think it's heading, some of the big questions that we have is how we track visibility and performance in this new world. What kind of metrics do we define as our KPIs for businesses, moving away from just organic traffic? But I can imagine that search will still be used for traditional searches, for transactional, for many different reasons. And I don't think it's going to disappear. And you can see that with the introduction of AI mode, for example, with Google. I don't think a lot of people at the moment, unless Google makes AI mode the default mode, most people are still using Google as intended. They're searching. An AI overview might come up, they're really helpful. And within that AI overview, generally, then it has explore more with AI mode. And I think that's how people are going to move or start using AI mode a bit more. So I think I think it's going to slowly, I think traffic is slowly going to shift to LLMs a bit more, but there's still going to be a massive piece of the pie is going to be with Google, basically.
Yeah, seeing where Google weaves in paid search and the rest of its kind of business model in with AI overviews is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Particularly, if you think about all the ecom clients you work with, it's unsettling right now. But I'd imagine, that's got to be the next phase.
Yeah, I think by end of the year, I heard that you're going to be able to bid on ads within AI responses, whether that's AI overviews or more AI mode. So it's going to happen quickly, definitely.
I guess thinking about that for a smaller business, a lot of this change, as I said, like it can be a bit unsettling around whether it's SEO or the impact that it's having on paid search. Do you think there's still going to be just as much opportunity for small websites, small businesses as there are for the bigger firms that have internal resource or can afford agencies, etc.?
Yeah, I think there always will be. It's been competitive for a long time, and it's been tough on smaller businesses and small sites for quite a while now. But there is opportunity, and there are advantages of being more focused, more niche in topic. But it does come down to being well optimized, strategic with the content and what you're creating on your site to compete and have that visibility online. So it's not easy. It's much easier if you're a big brand with a lot of authority, but you definitely still see a lot of smaller brands and businesses pop up.
Yeah, I like it. I think one of the points that you made, I think early on was, and kind of one of the BS triggers for me whenever I hear a lot of stuff in market around this is you've got professionals like yourself who are quite open in saying, we don't know where it's going yet. We're all working towards, trying to figure this out. And I see that with a lot of the credible people online. But whenever I hear someone saying, yep, I've got the answers and here's how you do it, that's always a trigger for me to go, okay, that's, there's a lot of BS here. I know, SEO over the years has always had challenges around, at times around credible sources and who to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, just interested to know if you're kind of seeing that as well, because I'd imagine,
Yeah, definitely. There's no silver bullet. There's no one formula. Anyone that says there is, they might have seen something work once and they might think it will work again. But generally what I'd say, and the advice I'd give as well to anyone looking to optimize and try and gain visibility in AI would be to not get too stuck on one aspect or one idea or strategy, especially if you don't have the resource, or if you can't really implement it quickly. You're better off diversifying and spreading out your effort and resources and doing a lot of small things, optimizing for your user experience and for conversion, because like we don't know what's going to happen 6 months down the track. And what's really important now could definitely change by then. If you think about even things like how easy it is to manipulate from a link building point of view or from brand mentions online, everyone's trying to game the system at the moment. So they're going to have to work out how to minimize that gaming, actually provide solid results consistently. So things are going to change. And yeah.
Yeah, great advice, mate. Well, just in wrapping up, mate, if there's anyone who wants to work with you or learn more, where's the best place to go?
Probably LinkedIn, to be honest. Yeah.
There you go. Look up Mr. Hamlin on LinkedIn. Mate, appreciate the time. Appreciate the chat.
My pleasure. It was good to chat. Thanks you.
Chris.
I'd be interested to see in 6 to 12 months if we pick up this chat again.
Yeah.
What's changed? I'm sure there'll be a lot.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have a whole new strategies and everything to talk about by then. So for sure.
Perfect. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.